pronounce it right. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's so crazy because you were a state placer for Perkins in like 99 or 2000.
Yeah, well, that was my cousin Tommy.
That was your cousin Tommy. Okay.
Yep.
Did you go to Perkins too?
I went to Perkins too. Yeah, we all graduated together. It's back in like 97, 98. We graduated in 99 when DeMar Pentorn was there and Josh Quick, and we had a nice group of kids.
Yeah.
Come through there.
So okay. So what's the proper way to pronounce it? Is it Hermes, Hermes? How do you guys pronounce it?
Hermes.
Hermes. So I don't even say the correct pronunciation.
No, I don't think anybody does. No tournament we go to, it's one of those things that you think at some point somebody'd get it right, but they've yet to get it right.
Does it like make you mad?
No, it's all right.
But like the crazy thing is, does your cousin coach with you too?
Actually, two of them. Dusty, my cousin Dusty, who wrestled for St. Mary's back when they had that run of state championships. He's our head junior high coach. And then my cousin Jason, who's Duke's dad, he's a freshman as well. He was a heavyweight for Perkins back in the early 90s. He's an assistant on my high school staff.
So Jason was a state placer at Perkins, wasn't he?
Yeah, you probably wrestled with Jason, I would guess, right around that time?
I'm 98. I'm a 98 grad.
Okay. Jason was third in the state as a freshman, or as a heavyweight, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I remember him. I remember him. You know I really remember? Nate Boggs.
Jimmy McKenney, Chad Johnson. Yeah, he was back in with those guys.
Yeah, Nate Boggs was
a freshman. I just happened to be lucky enough to be Nate Boggs' drill partner my freshman year, and Nate was a senior. That was fun every day.
Did Nate Boggs had a kid that was a state placer for Travis too, didn't he?
Yeah, Seth. And Seth's actually playing football right now, I think, at Trine and doing pretty well.
Yeah, the Boggses are freaks.
They were freaks.
Nate Boggs was incredible. He was he was so explosive. And if you looked at Nate Boggs, he looked like a string bean. He looked like a basketball player.
Yeah, I never forget the state finals. He was in the state finals, and there was like 15, 20 seconds to go, and he was up by 2 and on top and had the legs in. And he started celebrating on top with both boots in, raising his arms, and he got hit for unsportsmanlike conduct. So now he's only up by 1 with like 10 seconds to go and had to ride the guy out. It
was Hagedish from Twinsburg.
Yep.
I remember like it was yesterday. He started doing like this with a boot in.
On top,
with a boot in, right?
Right. Yep.
So crazy. Okay, so you guys live in Edison, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So it's actually Milan, Ohio.
Yeah, Milan, Ohio.
Okay. So I was looking at some of the past teams. My brother Chad used to wrestle against this one of the Hausers.
Maybe Steve?
Steve Hauser used to just put it on my brother Chad.
Yeah, Steve helps me out. His kids go to the school district here, and he helps me out with my youth club. So he was a state champ.
Yes. And then I remember all the guys from the 90s, obviously, like Sam Springer. I remember he was a state finalist for Edison.
They had a good group. They had Springer and Edwin Garcia, Eusti, Ben Gammy.
A dude named Chet. Who was Chet?
Chet Cochran.
I remember Chet Cochran. Yeah, they just had gritty guys.
Craig Messenberg coaches with me on the youth team. A lot of those guys helped me out with my youth. Craig Messenberg, Steve Hauser, Eric Quillen, Ben Gammy. All their kids go here, so they help me run the youth program, which is good. They all have kids, young kids, like kindergarten, first, second grade right now.
It's crazy because now it's like a second wave coming back around, like we're talking about it. Like, I know I'm old, right? And I'm 40.
Sam's still in the community. It's one of those things, like, all those guys are still in the community. None of them really went away.
It's crazy to think that you guys are starting to come around with the second wave of those people. And that's got to feel good that you're doing it with kids from the area, right?
Right. Yep.
And now your kids, how long have you been working there?
This is my 12th year in the district.
Okay.
So I taught third grade for 1 year when I came over to be the head coach. I was an assistant at Perkins with Travis, and I was teaching at Norwalk. I taught at Norwalk Elementary for 4 years, and then I came here to be the head wrestling coach in 2008, 2009, and a third grade teacher. And then the year after, I became the principal, and they weren't going to let me coach. Most districts, administrators aren't allowed to coach. So they were going through some budget cuts at the time, and I was going to lose my teaching job, but the principal just happened to be retiring. So I kind of just fell into it. There wasn't any interview or anything. It was really my only option, either be the principal or don't have a job. And I was only 27 years old. But originally they told me they weren't going to let me coach, which I wasn't ready for. That was always my dream, to be a head coach. So I kind of talked to the school board and the superintendent and let me try it. And I told them, if my coaching responsibilities and duties get in the way of administration stuff, then I'll agree to step down. So they let me try it. And it's been going well ever since. So I'm going to leave it at that and not bring it back up again.
Yeah.
My administrative job is 10 times what it used to be. I mean, you're in education, so things aren't the way they were 10 years ago. I was just blessed to have great assistants. That's when I had DeMar Pentorn with me, Zach Meisler. I had Paul Sanchez, who was at Bellevue and came over and helped me, Marco Capone. So I had some great assistants because there's days, we start practice we get out, our district is 750 to 250 across the board, everybody. We're on the same time, preschool through high school. So our high school kids get out at 250, and I really can't leave here until 3:30, 3:45. By the time all the kids get out of here and I know they're home safely on the bus, so just in case something would happen, I have to be available. So my assistants, like this year, I have Tommy Barnett and Dalton Howard and my cousin Jason. Well, Tommy Barnett leaves work early every day to meet our kids at school at 3 o'clock. And we do conditioning from 3 to 4 every day. And then once I get there, we wrestle from 4 to 6. So we go from 3 to 6 about every day. But if I didn't have assistants that could be there and, be willing to sacrifice leaving work early, because then after we're done with practice, Tommy Barnett goes back to work to make up for that time that he's missed. So he goes back to work from like 6 to 8 or 9 just to finish up the stuff he missed. So it works, but it only works because I have guys that help me and make it work.
I don't think they make them any better as wrestling parents than Tom Barnett.
Oh, Tommy's intense, man.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what.
But he's all in it.
He's all in. And you know what? With Tom Barnett, you know where you stand all the time. There's no middle ground. There's no BS. He's not going to tell you something the guy's not going to lie to you. He's just a great guy.
Right. Yes, he is.
And Tom Barnett is a Burnett trained guy.
Yep.
And the guy's always come around. He's always been super honest and friendly. And like you're saying, he's intense, but he's a really good guy. And then obviously it's been good for you. Both of his sons have been state champs for you.
They have. Yep. Yeah. Great wrestling family. His wife, Lori, she'll do anything for the program, helps out at tournaments. And they're just a great wrestling family, which those are hard to find, as you know, in wrestling. Wrestling's an intense sport and it takes a lot of time away from your family. So if you don't have everyone in the family on board, it usually doesn't work. So they're a family that has everybody, mom, dad, kids, everybody's on board.
So you have him. Which one do you have? You have
Casey.
You have Casey. Casey and Brady.
He'll be a senior.
Yeah, Casey. You have him one more year. Casey, and then Brady is at Cleveland State, and he's been battling injuries at 157.
Yep.
He's actually had to wrestle off another Burnett trained guy with Odor. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But okay, so let's just talk about the season this year, Davey. You guys, the Edison Chargers had I feel like maybe you guys were on route to do what Genoa did last year. It's just me personally. Maybe I'm biased. But I saw you guys a lot this year, and I've obviously seen you I've seen all this coming, you know what I mean? I've done all the OHSAA things. I've seen all this stuff coming. But I don't know if you were quite going to be at that level what Genoa was last year. I think in this next 3 or 4 years, you're going to be at that level. But you guys had a banner year, man. You guys were – It was
an unbelievable season. You're right. This isn't unless you're involved in wrestling and been around the sport, it's not one of those things you start in November and, you finish in March with what we did. This is something that we've been planning for 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years ago, we knew that we were going to have a 4 or 5 year run where we were going to be as good as anybody. We saw the kids coming up through the youth program. We were winning OAC grade school state championships, winning the junior high state dual championships 2 years in a row. And it's one of those things you can see it coming. But still a lot goes into making that all come together. Kids got to be in the right weight classes. Everybody's got to buy in. You got to have a great group of parents. You can't have any distractions. Injury free, which is huge in this sport. You know, and in November, we said we were the best team in not only Division III, we felt we were one of the best teams in the state of Ohio, period. And we've always been a program that, you know, if you look at our schedule and you look at our schedule next year, we'll wrestle anybody. You know, I'm not a fan of the 3 divisions, and a lot of times people think that Division III programs are only good because they're a small school and don't wrestle anybody. I hate that conception, but I see where it comes from. I mean, it's easy to see because most Division III programs lack numbers, and you can't afford to go out there and compete with the big dogs. You know, Wadsworth, Eds, Graham, and you know, we're fortunate enough to have a group of kids that have the mindset that they enjoy that. They want to do that. You know, we went 34-0, but 34-0, to be honest with you, it doesn't mean it's fun to say and it's nice when it's all over, but I don't mind getting beat. You know, we didn't wrestle Wadsworth last year to go there because we wanted to go. If we wanted to go 34-0, we would not have put them on our schedule. Next year, we're going to Graham to wrestle. It's us, Eds, and Graham in a try on January 9th at Graham.
You're doing that?
You know, we set that up with them, and you know, Eds and Graham wrestle their duel, and I called them to see if we could jump in, and you know, it's one of those things that I think the fans want to see the best teams in Division I, II, and III all in one gym, and it's one of those things that never happens. You know, every year you get the argument. You know, you got Genoa last year. Could Genoa have beat? I think Genoa was as good as any. They had 7, 8 kids that were as good as anybody. You know, but you never see that. Genoa didn't wrestle any top-notch duels where they put those kids up against a Wadsworth or an Eds or a Graham. So you're always left to think who would have won that duel. And to me, like I said, it's not about winning the duel. It's about giving the fans what they want, putting our kids in competitive situations. Because at the end of the day, our number one goal is obviously to win a Division III state title. We felt we were in a place to do it this year. You know, I feel hands down we were the best team in Division III. I know there was a couple other teams right there in the individual tournament, but you know, we had 10 guys going to the state tournament. We were in a position where I thought we were the best team by 20 or 30 points at the individual tournament as well. But I feel like we're only in that position because of our schedule in December and January. You know, wrestling that duel, I think that was a turning point in the season. We went to Wadsworth on senior night, you know, and nobody thought we could win that duel. Nobody, you know, and I'm sure even Wadsworth thought that was a duel. Little Edison's coming in. They knew we were good, but it's one of those things that you don't realize how good you are until it actually happens. You know, and we went in there and we beat them 42-27. And from there on out, we kind of rolled through the season. We were 34-0. In 31 of our duels, we scored over 50 points. You know, and we beat Wadsworth, we beat Medina Highland, we beat Perrysburg, we beat Oregon Clay. So it's not like we just beat up on Division III teams all year. You know, and then we rolled through the Division III state tournament, dual tournament. Our kids wrestled. I mean, we were lights out all year. And one of the biggest things, like I said all along, is we were healthy. There wasn't a time all year where we had missing pieces. And if we did, we have depth. I mean, I'm going to be honest, we have 4 to 6 guys on our B team. They're legitimate 30 to 40 match winners on a varsity schedule. So we have guys that can step in. This year, we didn't have a lot of depth down low, so we were fortunate to stay healthy in the lightweights. You know, next year we bring in 3 or 4 really, really good junior high lightweights that'll be freshmen next year. So the future's bright, but, you know, like I said, we want to wrestle the best. So next year we have Eds. We have 1 week we're wrestling Menor Lake Catholic, Wadsworth, and Medina Highland on a Wednesday in a quad, and then that Saturday we're going to wrestle Eds and Graham. So, I mean, you know, I think our schedule speaks for itself. We're at Brecksville, we're at Maumee Bay, we're at the Frickers duels. We don't wrestle Division III schedule. So when we get to Division III competition, a lot of times it seems, you know, a notch down, or it is a notch down for most. You still got the Troy Christians, Legacy Christians, Waynedale. I mean, you still have 5 or 6 high-level teams, but overall, it's just the depth in Division III is not there like it is in Division I and II.
So look, the standard, you know, you go to Brecksville, and that's where Max, your son, Max got his 2 losses this year at Brecksville, right?
Yeah, there's only 2 losses. 2 Michigan kids. He didn't lose to anybody in Ohio. He took 2 losses to the Horvath from Davis, Michigan, who was a top 10 kid in the country at the time. And, you know, he was in a match. Max believes he can win every match. You know, he's got the mindset. I don't say that just because he's my son, but he's got he lives and breathes wrestling, and he hates to lose. So he'll do anything he needs to do to win. He's super competitive. You know, he lost a 5-4 match there and, you know, made some mistakes and then dropped down, and we lost to the kid from DCC. I think it was 2-0. It was 0-0 match. We went down and he got cradled. There might have been 2-1, 3-1, whatever it was. But those were his only 2 losses. And from there on out, you know, we made some adjustments. And he's a kid that needs to attack. He's super strong for his weight, and real aggressive. And he's just always, he kind of reminds me, I'm not comparing him to Logan Stever, but he's not, he just stays in position. You know, Max isn't a kid that's going to put up 15, 20 points. He's not a takedown machine. He just doesn't give up points. I think he only got taken down 3 times all year in 60 matches. So, you know, he grinds out wins, but he's not a kid that after you watch him, you're like, wow, that kid, you know, put up 15, 20 points. He's not that type of kid.
He is taking ground a lot, though. He's always taking ground from people.
He stays in position. He's very good with his leg defense. He doesn't let guys in on his leg, and he just stalks you until he forces you into making a lot of mistakes.
My nephew Owen used to wrestle him all the time, and now Owen's bigger, and he always used to just obviously like farm machinery Owen.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and he always used to just beat Owen up. And then the other thing is, like, what impressed me about him was his district final. His district final was like, I was really impressed because the Oak Harbor guy got him, and the Oak Harbor guy's real strong. The Oak Harbor guy got him in a scramble or something in the first period, didn't he?
It was actually in the third period.
Was it the third?
We were up 1-0. And Judge, who's a great kid, you know, we had wrestled him earlier in the year. We were wrestling him in the regional finals, and Max pinned him in under a minute. And, you know, we knew that wasn't going to happen again. The kid's better than that. And we were up 1-0. They had a great game plan. They stayed away from Max. Max is the type of kid that needs to get his hands on you. He kind of reminds me of Evan Cheek. You know, if you wrestle Evan from space, he's like he's lost. But you let Evan get his hands on you, you're in trouble. Max is the kid that likes to have his hands on you. You know, Judge did a good job of wrestling, you know, kind of in a 3-point stance the whole match and staying away. And he put himself in a position to win the match. It was a great game plan for them. And he got in on a shot on Max and had a single up in the air. Max is not a scrambler at all. That's one of his biggest downfalls. Unlike my middle son, Abe will scramble with anybody. But Max is a kid that things need to just be solid and basic and fundamental. But Judge had his leg up in the air with about a minute to go and ready to finish a single. And Max did an ankle dive and ended up on top. So he went out of his comfort zone. But that just shows you, you know, he's going to do what it takes to win, whatever it's going to take.
Abe's a kitchen sink guy.
Abe is the kitchen sink guy. He's nuts. I don't know where he learned it. It's not from me. It's not the Edison style. Trust me, we're be in shape, go 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever it takes, stay in people's faces and do things right. Abe does more wrong than right, but he's one of those kids. He reminds me more of a Cam Tassari back in the day.
Yep.
One of those guys that here it comes. Whatever happens, happens, and he has fun with it. So I just let him go. He lives and learns from his mistakes. You know, he'd rather give up 5 to get 2, than those kind of things. But at some point in the match, he's never out of a match. You know, if Max goes down 4, 5, 6 points, the match is over. If Abe goes down 4, 5, 6 points, you know, the match has just started. So it's 2 totally different styles, and you got to kind of embrace them both because they both have their positives and negatives. And, you know, he's really starting to enjoy the sport. Abe's been my kid. He's never loved wrestling. He's asked me for years to play basketball. He's just a freak athlete. He'd be good at whatever he does. But wrestling's what we do, so we're not playing basketball.
He's super talented. His hips are so amazing, and he's
a great baseball player. He's a freak on the baseball field. He's good at everything. He can hit a golf ball a mile for a little kid. He's just one of those things that you're right. This is a great athlete, and it comes natural to him. He doesn't work super hard. I'm going to be honest with you. That's one of his things that he's been blessed just to be good without putting forth a ton of effort. Where Max isn't a great athlete. Max is as good as he is because he just outworks everybody else. Abe's the opposite, but Abe's finally starting to enjoy it. You know, he was in the state semifinals as a 6th grader at junior high state. And obviously when you're winning, it helps you enjoy things a little more. And I think Abe feels like he has to be Max. You know, Max was a kid that won 2 or 3 grade school state titles. He won junior high state as a 7th grader, great freshman year, ranked number 1 in the state. So Abe's kind of one of those kids that he's living in the shadow of Max, which you hate to see, but he's finally understanding that in his own way he can be good and he needs to make his own path.
As a dad, we're talking coaching, we're talking being a dad. What's your favorite part about coaching them? What's your most challenging part about coaching them? You got two opposite kids. You got a guy who's a go for broke guy who's got amazing hips, and then you got another guy who's a never comes out of position, never breaks position. I've only ever seen him break position on a dive roll in the district finals.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've been watching him since he's a little.
The younger one that's 160-pound heavyweight that trumps them all. So Eli's a tank.
It's crazy because they're all so different, right?
They are all so different. And to be honest, it's what makes it fun. There's, like I said, pros and cons. Abe, when Abe goes on the mat, I sit back, cross my arms, and watch the movie. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's not much I'm going to say during that match that's going to change what Abe's going to do. Max, on the other hand, Max is super hard on himself, and sometimes I feel like he's always asking me every practice, it's a million questions on why this doesn't work. And our room is super tough. I mean, he's wrestling Holman and Fantuzzi and Bogus every day. So Max doesn't win our room. We got 4 or 5 guys down low that are all top 4, top 6 guys in the state. And Max is small. But every time he gets taken down, he assumes it's because he did something wrong. He doesn't want to give the other kid credit, like maybe this kid's good. So he's got a million questions, and it's just hard to get through to him. You didn't do anything wrong. You just need to, stay positive. But he always thinks he's disappointing himself, or he's disappointing me as a dad and as a coach if he loses. And I don't want him to feel the pressure. And all year, he came in his freshman year ranked number 1 in the state, which is, to me, I hate to see that because that just puts unnecessary pressure on a kid that hasn't even wrestled a high school match yet. And there were some good kids in that weight class this year. So it wasn't anytime that as a community member, as an outsider, they just assume that if you're ranked number 1, you should get number 1. And, my fear was if Max didn't win state this year, he would have looked at the entire season as a failure. And, he would have thought that me as a dad thought it was a fair, and that's far from the truth. You know as well as I do, they don't give away state titles. And they're not easy. It's hard enough to win 1, then alone 2, 3, or 4 of them. And when you come in as a freshman, you're ranked number 1. Everybody automatically thinks, Max Hermes is going to be the next 4-time state champion, and it's just going to happen. And it's a lot of pressure. But Max is a kid that understands that, and he doesn't mind pressure. I just don't want to, I don't want to see him affect him negatively because he feels that pressure from me and from outsiders who think, he should just win because he's Max Hermes.
How many Hermeses have been like state placers, state qualifiers, because there's a lot of Millers, and I've got cousins who wrestled at Clay. 2 of my cousins one was state placer a couple times at Clay. How many Hermeses?
There's 3 state placers. Jason, Dusty, and Tommy were state placers. Jeremy was state qualifier. I was back in the year when they did Follow Your Man and got beat first round at districts by a kid from Lexington, Glorioso, who was ranked 2nd in the state. Lost a 1-point match, and then he went out and lost. So that's how my career ended, because it wasn't a double elimination like it is now. But Dusty was back. Dusty was in the era with the great St. Mary's teams, the Uppers and Tanner Shearer and Spencer Dye and that group of kids. So Dusty was on that team that won.
What was Dusty doing? How did he get away? How'd those Panthers grab him? What are they doing?
We got him back. But Dusty kind of reminds me of Abe. Dusty was just a super athlete, strong farm kid, always on the attack. And, he's great for our junior high program. He's our junior high coach with Jude Michael. Jude was an Edison kid, state placer for us. So him and Jude run our junior high program, and they're great. Dusty's more in your face, hard nose, and Jude's more the technical Burnett guy, showing the technique. So they do a great job.
Jude Michael, crazy story about him is he went to Oklahoma with us on the junior duels at 98 pounds, and he upset like 2 or 3 nationally ranked guys, and we took 3rd place as a duel. My nephew Ian was on the team. Yeah. Dave Habit was on the team. Stevers were on the team. It was a nails team. Tavanello, I mean, geez, Pete, it was like...
Yeah, Jude was super good. He was probably one of the best kids, if not the best kid technically that I've had here in 12 years. Just technically did everything right. Super good technique.
He was like the total outlier in the group, but he won like 3 huge matches for us. It was awesome. It was awesome. But he was just wrestling hard, you know what I mean?
Jude's the reason we cradle everybody. Jude's a cradle king, man. So you see our kids with that cross-face cradle. That's all Jude. That's not me.
So, okay. So you had this amazing year. You got this amazing support system. Your kids are some of the best kids in Ohio, all levels right now. You got, and they're all doing it different ways. Kitchen sink, super solid, calculated. And then we're rolling into, you're gonna have 2, 3, maybe 4 guys in the finals, maybe 2, 3, 4 champs. You're gonna win by, you said 20 or 30. I say 30 or 40. That, like, the whole year I'm thinking that, like, this guy does the rankings, the Burrow fan, and he keeps and I understand that. I understand he was going off the districts, and their districts are really easy. The South West teams, they have an easy district. We get that, right? Compared to your district.
Right.
And I was just like, that's not how it's gonna happen. Right? I'm like, it's not gonna be that. And I know that you guys were worried about what Edison was doing. You're mauling people in duels and beating a bunch of D1 teams who are, you're beat 4 or 5 top 10 D1 teams. But you're going into it and you got all this momentum. You have a great district tournament. How many guys out? 11?
10 out.
10 out. I was there.
Yeah.
10 out. You're ready, man. It's like it's ready to happen. You're ready to do it. You're going to win by 30 or 40. Let's go back to Thursday before the tournament. They cancel it. Where are you guys? What's the scenario, and what do you say to your guys?
Yeah, we left Thursday morning for Columbus. Got down there, got checked in a hotel around noon. The kids just wanted to chill in their hotel rooms for a while. We were gonna go walk around the mall or go play some video games. And my cousin Jason and I wanted to grab a bite to eat, so we went to a Roosters uptown in Columbus there and grabbed lunch. And as we were eating, we started seeing everything come across the TV screen where NCAAs have been canceled, and spring sports for NCAA Division I was canceled, and they were talking about Olympics and NBA. And at that time, earlier in the week, everybody was concerned because kind of upset because they weren't going to let people in to watch, and then they came out on Wednesday or Tuesday night where they were only going to let 4 adults or 4 family members, however you wanted to distribute your tickets, 4 per kid, and our families were upset, which I get. We had about 200 to 300 people coming down to watch us, so there was a lot of upset people. But at that time, I held a parent meeting Wednesday after practice, and I said, listen, guys, like, right now we need to be fortunate that they're going to let us wrestle at all, because I think we're real close to pulling the plug on this thing altogether, and that's not what any of us want to see. So I get you're upset. So we called the Embassy Suites, and we had we were bringing down 2 or 3 big TVs. We rented their banquet room. We got like a watch party like you do for the Cavs on the playoffs or something, So our fans were still all coming down. They all kept their rooms. They were going to have a watch party because it was going to be streamed. They were going to have a watch party back at the hotel so they could watch our kids and just hang out with the team and the coach when we got back. So we get down there Thursday, and Jason and I are at Roosters, and I get the call that they've canceled the tournament. And I wasn't with the kids at the time, so we left. Obviously, they heard the news, so we got back to the hotel, and it was a crushing blow for sure, because you're right. This was the year where everything went. We called it the perfect season. It was perfect up until the very end. And like I said, winning state titles isn't easy. People don't understand the time that goes into it from when these kids are 4, 5, 6 years old. This isn't something that just started in November and we can start it over again next November. We've been planning for this for a while, and it's because of the time these kids put into the program and the time the parents put into the program. And to see it all get taken away right at the very end, for something that nobody can control. And, I'm not going to sit here and say it was the wrong decision, because we can all debate, should we have wrestled or not wrestled? It doesn't matter at this point. The concern was that we needed to err on the side of safety in people's lives, which is definitely way more important than high school wrestling. But it sucked. There's no better word for it, and I feel terrible for, out of the 10 guys, 8 of them are coming back. So they're going to have another chance. We have 8 underclassmen. 6 of those 8 are only freshmen, sophomores. So we're young, but somebody like Jacob Brewer, Jacob Brewer, a senior, wrestled his whole life, and was 4th last year. He was going to win Division III state this year. Nobody was going to beat him. I don't think anybody was close. And to see that taken away from him, because those are the things you don't get back. As adults, we're going to go to work. At some point, we're going to go back to work, and it's just going to be life as normal. But what these high school kids are missing right now is something they're never going to get back. And it's beyond wrestling. I mean, spring sports are canceled. So and you just wonder, how's it going to affect college scholarships? And, there's going to be a bigger impact of this than everybody realizes. And it just thinks because, my two younger ones are super involved in travel baseball. We travel the country to play baseball. That's their number one sport, Eli and Abe. And, it looks like baseball is going to be canceled, which they're young, so it doesn't really mean anything. But that's what those kids, that's what they live for. They're young kids, and they're missing out on things that they're never going to get back. So it was a tough pill to swallow. I mean, it was. This is the second time. I think this is in my 12 years at Edison, we've had a legit shot to win the state title twice. Back in 2012, when we ended up going to Division II because we were one kid over the cutoff. That year, I think we were definitely the best team in Division III that year. We just missed the cutoff by a kid. And then fast forward to this year, I know we were the best team in Division III this year. And it'll go down as one of those years with the asterisks. You don't get to see the kids' pictures on the walls at the school. They don't get to add their names to the sign. They don't get anything. It's like it just didn't happen. You can't put their name on. I can't put Jacob Brewer down with an asterisk by it because I think he would have been a state champion. I can't put Max. You can't do that. So luckily we got through as much as we did, I guess. And we were at least able to win the state duels and have some, I guess, good faith in what we did. But we definitely missed the most important part.
You guys have been on that cusp of being D2, D3 a bunch of times. Didn't you just recently have a situation with it this past time? Weren't you guys right at it? Like right at the?
We were. I think we were one or two. We're always right on the border. And the thing is, you never know where that cutoff changes every year. So we're always, we're on the big side, obviously, of Division III. In my 12 years, there was 1 2-year cycle where we were Division II. So we've been D3 10 years, D3 D2 2 years, D3 for 10 of my 12 years. But we're always right on the bubble. Now our enrollment as a district is down. This last count, we had really big boy classes in our freshman, sophomore, junior classes. So, but who knows? You never know where that number is going to go. It's going to be interesting where that number goes in the future. I know as a district, as an administrator, we're starting to plan how many parents are going to opt to not even send their kids back to school this year. And this is a count year.
Yeah. And my wife and I were talking about that. Like we're going to go back to school next year. Probably. I hope we do. And are half the kids' parents going to keep them home? Or are we going to be teaching online classes and in-person classes? Like, are we going to have to go home and then hold an online session for the kids who don't show up? And it's just whatever, man. We don't know what the future is. It's very uncertain. And a lot of people are obviously super scared, but you just got to figure it out and you got to roll with it. Right. Your job as an administrator, is it just a bunch of Zoom meetings? Like what are you doing?
Yeah, right now. So pretty much right now, it's a lot of virtual meetings, Google Meets and Zoom meetings. Like today, Wednesdays, I meet with my staff, so I meet with each grade level for 45 minutes. So I'll be starting at 10 o'clock. I'll be in Zoom meetings from now till 3 o'clock this afternoon, just meeting with teachers, seeing how things are going, listening to concerns, just planning for the future. And you're right, a lot of it we don't have answers for. But we still got to start planning so when we do have answers, we're at least prepared.
Are your other Zoom meetings as sweet as this? Do you get to talk about the 34-0 year?
None of them are as interesting as this. I don't get to talk wrestling.
Yeah, but you know what, man? I know you elementary teachers do. It feels like sometimes they almost do 10 times the work of high school.
It reminds me of wrestling. You get out of it what you put in. Elementary teachers put in a ton of time. If you teach junior high and high school, you really don't understand that until you come down to elementary. The kids aren't very independent yet, so you can't give them an assignment to do for 15, 20 minutes while you go sit at your desk and check your email. And, it's full go from 7:50 to 2:50. And those kids, those 5, 6, 7-year-olds want your attention all day long. So it's exhausting.
And if you have a son like my 2-year-old Thomas, you can't escape them.
No,
they don't go to the next class. You're stuck with them all day. All day. It's crazy, man. Like that job, that's a really hard job. So you're probably hearing some really innovative things on pedagogy and, just different things about assessments and how you're able to track that. Because the big thing there is they're learning how to read. They're learning how to do the basic
block. Concern at the elementary level is this is the age when kids they're taught their foundational skills, learning how to read, learning number sense. And it's hard to do that over a computer screen with a 5, 6, 7-year-old. So there is definitely a fear of the academic gap this is going to cause for our younger kids moving forward. I mean, you got a group of kindergartners going to first grade that missed the last 12 weeks of kindergarten. And how do you go back and make that time up? Because you can't make it up over a computer screen.
You're right.
And that's going to fast forward to next year. I would be shocked if we go back to school on the first day and everybody's in session all at the same time. It's going to be some sort of blended environment. Like you said, you know, certain kids come on certain days, and the days they're not here, they're doing something from home. And, you know, so you're looking at over a year of instruction that the kids are missing out on. And the impact that's going to have is going to be huge. You know, and I know in Florida, I brought this up to I don't know if you saw what's going on in Florida, and I don't know if it passed or not, but Max used to wrestle a kid, David McClellan. He was an Ohio kid, and he transferred to Lake Highland Prep to wrestle. He's a freshman this year. I think he took second to state in Florida. Florida gave the parents the option if they wanted to hold their kids back or not, because of this. And the school, if you as a parent said you wanted to hold your kid back, the district couldn't tell you no. And that was K to 12. So I know that's being talked about right now, especially the unfortunate part is you get in high school and people are going to do it for athletic reasons or other reasons and not academic reasons. At my level, it'd be for strictly academic reasons. But you do see some validity in that argument, especially with how much these kids are going to miss.
Yeah.
And if you're a high school parent of a high school kid, and, you know, a lot of high school parents, if they've done it for athletic reasons, have already done it anyways.
Yeah.
But if, in my opinion, if you're a high school parent of a high school kid and you can still meet OHSAA's guidelines with what's going on right now, why shouldn't you be able to make that decision for your kid?
Yeah. So, like, let me just quickly about the Millers. I was held back a grade. My brother Tate was held back a grade. Okay. And it was like the first or second grade. You gotta understand, we grew up on a farm. Right. My dad was an iron worker. We ran around like maniacs all day. We didn't learn the alphabet. We didn't learn colors.
Right.
We were under
we learned how to work.
Yeah, we were under the porch eating rocks. Or, yeah, like running around with my brothers, riding three-wheelers, doing all this crazy stuff, right? Like, we didn't learn a lot of that. A couple of my nephews, Ian, he you can say it, flunked, right? We were brought back. You had to repeat a grade. Ian, Pete's, Wyatt, all, like, a bunch of us have not been ready. I'm just saying Millers in general.
Right.
Have not been ready. And it's not like we got to 8th grade and we'd repeated 8th grade. It was like those years that are critical for reading, identification of numbers, the basic skills of...
You needed that.
Yeah, you needed it. Like, we needed it developmentally. Like, my mentality is, I want my kids out of here. If they're graduating, I want them gone. Like, we're not like, they're ready, they're going. Right? I want to go hike and do my own thing when they're done doing their own thing. When you know what I mean? Like, right. Like, I want them to go live their life. You know, like,
get out of your house, the better.
Yes, and that's okay. But my parents got stuck with Tate and I for another year. I feel so.
It's what you needed to do to be successful.
It's what we needed to do to be successful, and that's like, and literally, it's for academic reasons, right? Like, it's crazy. I know we got to start wrapping up here, but like, where do you guys go from here, and what's the future hold for Edison Wrestling? And is it, you know, 8 of those guys are back. Any Ironman for you guys?
You know, that's a tough question, Zeb. I got an email last week, and we did get 5 of our kids invited to Ironman. It's one of those things I battle with every year. I'm all for the competition. It's not because we don't want to wrestle. The problem I have is then trying to pick what those kids miss on our schedule. Our schedule is so super tough. I'm not sitting them out of Brexville. I'm not sitting them out of Maumee Bay. I'm not sitting them out of the Frickers duels. You know, the issue we have is our home tournament. The Edison invite is our weakest thing, but I don't feel it's right to sit our kids out of our own home tournament. You know, and then our duels is okay, so they can miss 3 points with a duel. Who are they going to sit out against? Graham, Eds, Wadsworth? I mean, it's hard to find on our schedule. We don't really have something that they can sit out of and me be comfortable. I'm not okay losing duels because we don't have our best kids in the lineup. And that we took some kids to Ironman 4 or 5 years ago. You know, Sam Stahl, Brady, Alex Newberger. That year we had those guys, and we came back home and we lost 6 or 7 duels because we were missing our 5 best kids. So if we had a schedule where I didn't feel like our good kids were pushed, it'd be a different story. I feel like our schedule, our good kids everybody's pushed on our schedule. And if they're not pushed, that means they're a freak. So it's up in the air. We do have 5 kids that got invited to Ironman. I just have to decide if we choose to go that route, what am I going to hold those kids out of?
Yeah, it's crazy. That sucks that you have to make that decision, but it's an extra thing.
To be honest with you, Ironman to me should be treated almost like the region. It should be I don't know how you can do it, but it's almost like a prestigious event that kids are getting invited to, and they're not being penalized, but it kind of penalizes the rest of the team when they have to go to events without their so-called best kids, and then you're putting yourself in positions where as a team you're losing things and not doing as well as you could have because your kids have to sit out. So I know they can't wrestle that without it counting as points, but it's a tough decision. It's a tough decision when you're a good program with a good schedule. If we were just an average team that had 2 freaks on our team and our schedule was weak, it's an easy decision. I'm taking these 2 kids to Ironman because that's what they need. They can sit out of something, but that's not what we have.
They should have an exemption for it. I'm with you 100%.
Right.
And you know what? At least you're not fighting the same rules that Michigan's fighting. Michigan's got some like horrible rules where they can't travel more than 300 miles.
You can't leave California, right?
Yeah, that just happened. That was just this past season, right? Well, what their thing was, they didn't want them competing against the prep schools.
Right. Who cares?
I know you don't care. I know you don't care. I love it. It's crazy to think, Lake Catholic told me about the duel they were doing. I talked to Coach McIntosh the other day at Graham, and he was talking about, I want to say he talked about, he has Brecksville the night before of that try with you guys, I want to say. It's something crazy, crazy. Is your duel with them in January?
January 9th.
Yeah, he was talking about that to me. He was, Coach Travis McIntosh, I had him on, and he was talking about, he's like, yeah, January 9th it's on, and they have Brecksville the night before.
Yeah.
They're nuts.
I appreciate the good programs, because it's hard to find people. They're in the same boat. It's hard to find schools that will wrestle you in a duel when you get to that elite level. And that goes for any elite team. It's hard. I struggle to schedule every year to try to find teams for dual meets to fill those 4 dual meet points, because it's hard to find Division III teams that want to wrestle because they're either not full teams or they're just not at that level. So why would you bring your team in, to give up 60, 70 points when you can go find somebody else and your kids can be pushed? So I appreciate the fact that Graham and Eds and Wadsworth will wrestle us. It's helping everybody. And I think that speaks volumes for all the elite programs. We're willing to wrestle each other. And when you're willing to wrestle each other, that means you've put aside your ego, and winning means everything. You're in it for the kids. You're in it to get the kids better. The end goal for all of us is to win a state title. Ed's, Wadsworth, they're trying to win Division I state titles. Graham's trying to win a Division II state title. We're trying to win Division III state title. We could care less. Not that I want to say we could care less who wins those duels. We're going to be super competitive, and we all want to win. But at the end of the day, whoever wins that duel, you're not winning anything. The real trophy is at the end of the season, and the goal of those duels are to prepare your kids for those moments.
When are you guys going to start doing, are you going to do virtual camps? Are they going to try and do Burnett camps? What are you doing with the summer? Because you guys are super active in the summer, and you're at the barn all the time. I see you there all the time, and it's in your school district.
Right. It's all kind of up in the air. I mean, we usually 3 years ago we run our own camp here the last week of June, and we brought in some great clinicians. It's a 5-day camp, Monday through Friday. And I have a different clinician come in every day that I pay for our team camp. We used to go away to team camp, and it was just getting to the point where it was costing so much money to go to these camps, and I wasn't sure the kids were really getting a lot out of it. They were having fun, and it builds team unity, but at the end of the day, I want our kids to get better in wrestling. So we opted to stay at home, and we hold our own team camp the last week of June, but I haven't started planning it yet because it's a lot of planning if it's not going to happen. Our kids, we have a group of hardworking kids. We're a small blue-collar school. We do not have great athletes at all. Our kids are good because they work hard. Their parents are super supportive. They trust the coaching staff. They're not making a bunch of excuses for their kids like a lot of parents do this day and age. I don't deal with any parent problems at all, to be honest with you, which is they trust us with the kids, and I think that speaks volumes for the program. And that's the reason we are where we are. So these kids are at home. They're doing stuff at home. They're on their own. They're working out. They're lifting. A lot of these kids have mats in their basement. They have siblings, and they're doing what they can under the circumstances that we're in. Hopefully some of this stuff gets lifted here and we can get back to some sort of normalcy. It looks like freestyle. We have a ton of kids that wrestle freestyle. I love freestyle season. It's just, it feels relaxed and it's fun. That's pretty much gone, I would think. And before you know, I know fall sports are up in the air right now. So I just hope, I'm worried about next season, to be honest with you. Wrestling is a sport that's a skin to skin contact, and you're packing thousands of people in a gym sitting on top of each other. And that's totally going against everything that's going on right now. So I do worry about winter sports just because it's so much of it is inside.
Yeah. I was having this conversation with John Stutzman, the head coach for University at Buffalo yesterday. And him and I were like, hey man, if they got to do it next year, shut down December, January,
right?
Shut down January, February. Let us have March. Or let us plan accordingly to get a venue. You know what I mean? Like, limit the fans.
Start planning now because we've heard all along. You listen to this isn't going away. It's not like in a couple months this is going to be gone. I think we need to weather the storm, and I know the hope is to get a vaccine, and that's help with a lot of it, but it's not going to be gone by next wrestling season. It's still going to be there just like it was this year, and. The fear is going to be if we pack gyms and have, kids wrestling with each other, skin to skin contact. I don't know what that looks like right now.
I want you to think about this. You and I were at that district tournament together, last time you guys were on the mat, and we did an interview. I shook your hand. I was sitting in a crowd with people, kids are wrestling, and that was life. That was life 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, right? And we didn't think anything of it, right? It was just how it was. And now it's like this whole...
Now it's gone.
It's gone, yeah. And it's like, I don't think we realize how good we had it, man.
You feel guilty saying it because the overall goal here is to save lives of people. I haven't personally been affected. If you were somebody that's personally been affected by it and had a family member, you would probably speak from a different side. But you're right, to what extent, to how many things can we take away from kids? How many businesses can we see get closed? How many people can we see without jobs before finally we have to do something?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know the right answer. I think the governor's doing the best he can do with the information he has. And we're just going to have to weather the storm. And hopefully it works out. But you're right. There's a lot of things being taken away from a lot of people right now that they're never going to get back. We're talking about people losing jobs and businesses closing down. Look at Cedar Point. Cedar Point doesn't open. Sandusky's going to take a huge hit. They're talking about losing 40% of their revenue if Cedar Point can't open. And the people that are going to lose jobs because of that, that's sad.
Yeah, and it's just like Jacob Brewer. Jacob Brewer doesn't get his senior year back.
Right. No, that doesn't come back.
You know what I mean? It's wild to think that that's
for the kids because I know how hard they work. I'm going to be a coach for a while. At least I hope to be. These kids only get a short window to do what they're going to do, and to see that taken away, they're not going to get that back.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's the biggest thing is the human cost on they're losing so much. Like you're saying, your kids, youth baseball, man, you learn a lot from youth baseball.
Right.
There's a lot there, man. It's a lot there. Now listen, I know you got other meetings to go through. We're 7 minutes away from your first meeting. Is there anything else you got for me? The name. Why does it add, whenever I type your name, it adds a tilde? Does it do that to you?
I don't know. I don't type my own name very often, I guess.
Yeah. It adds a tilde to Hermes. So wait.
That's why people can't pronounce it right.
Give the proper pronunciation for people one more time.
Hermes.
Hermes, Ferdinand. No. It's Hermes. Hey. Max Hermes is probably going to be a 3-time state champ. Remember the name, Ferdinand. So, all right. I know you got meetings coming up, but, if there's a parting message, what would you say to people? And maybe not even about Edison wrestling, but
it's got it.
What's your parting message?
The biggest thing is telling everybody to stay positive, especially these kids out there. I tell our kids the same thing. Stay positive. This is going to pass. You know, it's real easy to get negative on everything right now, and I think a lot of good will come out. I know as a person myself, I've spent more time with my family in the last 4 to 6 weeks than I've probably spent with them in the last 4 to 6 years. You know, I had more housework done, more hanging out with the kids. Usually we all lead busy lives, and you kind of lose perspective on what's most important. And that's obviously your family and your friends. And I think times like this makes people realize that. You know, work will be there tomorrow. High school sports in the big scheme of things isn't really that big of a deal. You know, us that live and die by it, yeah, it is. But in the big scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. These kids are going to be fine. I think the more important thing is, you know, cherish what you have. You know, be safe, be strong. You know, we're going to get through this. And, you know, I tell the wrestling kids, we'll get back to wrestling at some point, and we'll get back and put ourselves in position, hopefully next year, to win another state title.
Coach, I'm looking forward to covering it. Obviously, you know, I got nephews on the Oak Harbor team. You guys are always beating up on them. So, you know, it's always fun.
They gave it to us for a number of years, so we're just getting ours in while we can. They're not
true.
Away either. I love that program. I've always said I like to compare them to us. They're just programs that do things right. You know, their kids are well coached. They're disciplined. They got a great group of parents. When you go wrestle Oak Harbor, I don't care if it's a down year or an up year, you know you're going to get a battle.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the teams in your league are like that. Clyde has been like that forever.
Yeah,
I mean, Perkins, right? Like with Travis. And Travis, he's a piece of work. You know, like
Travis. I know Travis well.
He's just that guy's hilarious, man. Yeah. I'll tell you what, if I could show my text conversations that I have with Travis to you, oh my gosh, that guy, he's something else. I like him. And then, you know, St. Mary's had great years. It's just, your league's amazing. Your league is amazing, and you just did a 4-peat, right?
Yeah, you're right. The SBC tournament's a mini state, and I'm going to be honest, that was our down point this year, and I was super upset after the SBC tournament because I didn't think we wrestled well at all at the SBC tournament. But then, you know, that night I'm sitting around with a couple of the coaches, and I'm like, you know what? We wrestled bad at the SBC tournament and still won this league by 60 points, which I think speaks volumes. I mean, I looked at our group of seniors, 4-time SBC champs, 3-time state finalists. You know, they've had a great career, and for us to win that league outright for 4 straight years, that's always my goal. I'm not a fan of the Bay River and Lake Division. I'll say that.
I don't like that at all.
I hate it.
I don't like that at all.
I hate it. And our kids know from day one, if we don't win the whole thing, I don't want a River, Bay, or Lake trophy. They can keep it. You know, I want to win the whole thing, or I don't want anything. So, but I like the way it's set up. You know, I like the way that it's one weight class. It's made the league super competitive. Ton of state qualifier. It reminds me of the old SBC.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Just nails. Okay.
Yep.
I got 9:57 right now. You got a meeting in 3 minutes. I promised you I wouldn't keep you longer than that. Thank you for the time. Good luck to the Chargers moving forward. I normally talk to people off camera afterwards. We don't even have time for that. Thank you for the time. Good luck to you guys moving forward, and we'll keep talking to you. All right, Coach?
Thanks, Zeb. I appreciate it.
Yep. See you later.
Yeah.